bonjour, bienvenidos, benvenuti, welcome to the Music Polyglot channel. Today we're going to look at Good Company. We're going to play it exactly as it is on the record, note for note. It's hard, but I'm going to show you exactly everything that you need to do in order to play it exactly as it sounds on the record. Let's have a look at that in a close-up. Let's begin by talking about the tuning. We have to detune the first and second strings. So here it goes from low to high. E, A, D, G. So far, so good. Standard. Now for the second string, instead of this being a B, it goes down to an A and D. So both first and second strings go down a tone. Now let's talk about the rhythm. We are playing 16th notes or semiquavers all through. What does that mean? It means that if you have the beat, say here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 16th notes are a subdivision of the beat. We have to fit 4 notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a in each beat. 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And we're going to be doing that throughout the whole song. That's the easy part. The hard part is that we need to do that at lightning speed. So we know that this is finger picked. And I'm going to show you how the pattern goes on the right hand. That is to say, on the picking hand, you're going to have your thumb on the low E string. Your index is going to be on your D string, that's the 4th string. Your middle finger on the 3rd string, and your ring finger on the 2nd. And you're going to follow a pattern that goes thumb, index, middle, ring, thumb, index, middle, ring. Pima, for all of you classically trained. Okay, so those are your 4 semiquavers. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. That's the order of the picking and the pattern. Now, a slight shift happens every other beat. So on the first beat, you'll have that. 1 E and a. For the second beat, you switch strings. So your thumb will drop all the way to the D string. And your index middle ring will now be on strings 3, 2, and 1. So, okay. So on the same chord you'll have first that, then that. Beat 1, 1 E and 2 E. Back on 3, and back up on 4. So there's always that alternation between the two. Okay, give that a whirl so that you understand what's happening on the right hand before we look at the chords. So let me play you these chords nice and slowly so that you can see what's going on. And then you're back. As we said, the rhythm is going to be the same throughout. So let me show you the chords for the intro and verse. Chord number 1, index on the 10th fret of the low E and ring finger on the 11th fret of the G string. Now remember that we start off with thumb on the bass note, which is the low 6th string, index on the D string, middle on the G string, and middle finger on the 2nd string. So that's the first beat. So let me play you that first bar slowly. 3 E and 4 E and. Okay, so you remember that we alternate between those two sets of strings, right? On the first beat, we have the thumb on the low 6th, the index on the D string, your middle finger on the G string, and then your ring finger on the open second string. But on the second beat, you shift everything. Your thumb drops to the D string, index on the G string, then middle finger on the second, and ring finger on the first. And then you go back. Okay? This alternation is going to be a constant throughout the song, so make sure you understand what's happening here. Look at the tab, that will help you. Remember that you have the tab on the Patreon page if you want to print it, etc., etc. Let's move on to the second chord, index. Your index is on the 7th fret of the D string, middle finger 9th fret of the low E, and ring finger 9th fret as well of the G string. And the pattern then is the same. Right? So we're staying on each chord for the whole bar. Chord number 3. That's the whole bar. For bar number 4, we actually start by staying here for 2 beats. 1, 2. And then for beat 3, we move down to. Then for the next bar, up. 3, 4. Okay, the next bar has the first fiddly chord. So this is a type of G minor inversion with the bass on the B flat. So I suggest that you play this with the index on the 5th fret of the D string, middle finger on the low 6th of the low E, and pinky on the 7th fret of the G string. You stay on that one for a whole bar. And now here comes the most stretchy chord of all. Okay, so this is why I suggested you played the previous chord the way I did, because then you can leave your pinky where it was, right? So if I'm coming from here, leave the pinky where it was, then you swap the middle finger for the ring finger just a fret higher. Now it's on the 7th, and your index has to stretch down 1 fret to the 4th fret of the D string. This is a big stretch. It might take a while to get, but persevere because you will get it right. Make sure that your thumb is low enough. So you definitely don't want to have your thumb anywhere higher than, say, halfway through the neck at the back. So check it and make sure that it's also straight. If you have your thumb like that, it's not going to allow you to stretch. So make sure that your thumb is straight and low. You have 1 bar and a half of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and for beats 3 and 4, we're looking at the intro and verse. You go up 2 frets, back to the 2nd chord. And now if you're changing from that to that, notice how you don't actually need to lift your fingers. You can just slide them back up into position. Everything slides up 2 frets, except for the index, which we're stretching below, and now it can come up a further fret. Okay, so this is the 2nd chord again. So this is the same sequence for the intro and the first half of the verse. On the second half of the verse, it's all exactly the same, except that when you get to this B minor chord, and you play it 3 times, so over a bar and a half, instead of going up, you come down to this. Which brings you into the chorus. So how's it going so far? It's tricky, huh? If you need tabs, I mean, you have the tab on screen, but if you want to be able to print it, etc., you have it on my Patreon page. Check the link below. Let me play that chorus slowly so that you see what's going on. So we start off with that 4-bar sequence that's played twice. Let's go through the chords. So we know this one already. Whole bar on that. We know this G minor inverted as well. Also a full bar on this. We know this B minor with a big stretchy chord. Bar and a half on this. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and then we come back to the beginning of the sequence and play it again. We'll play it exactly the same again, but on the third time it'll start off the same way. When you get to the next chord, you have this. And then 4 bars on that chord that we know. Okay, so let's have a look at just that last time, right? When you get to that B minor, you play it only once. Then all you need to do is to swap your ring finger on the left hand for the middle finger on the 6th fret. You also play it only once, and then down to the 5th fret with your index. You play that one twice, and then with the same index you slide down a further fret down to the 4th. And you play this one 4 times or 2 bars before finally descending to that G, also for 2 bars. And then you go back to another verse and to another chorus after that. After 2 verses and 2 choruses, we have a bridge that goes like this, nice and slowly. So 3 E and 4 E and Okay, so those are the first 4 bars, which will then repeat. Let's go through the chords. We know this E minor 7 shape. We've played it in the verses and choruses, the one that looks like a power chord, right? You can play it with your index and ring finger like you've probably been playing it in the verses, but for this section, I actually suggest you play it with your index and pinky. You'll see why in a second. We have to go, right, whole bar on that, and then a further 2 beats, 1 E and 2 E and then we have to go to that G minor inverted with a bass note on the B flat chord. And we know that that one usually goes up to that stretchy B minor. So that's why if you keep your pinky there from the first chord of the section, it might actually help you to get the stretch right and to navigate through the chords. So you could consider that. Now here, one thing that is a bit confusing is that usually we have this B minor chord go for a bar and a half, but in the bridge it's only 1 bar, so twice. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we go down to this one. And then you go back to the beginning of the sequence. So again, your pinky can stay there because your index, all it needs to do is to drop from the low E string all the way up to the D string. And then you start that. Only once on that one, twice on this one, and then down. Right? And you play it like that 3 times. At the end of the 3rd time this happens. Let me play the last time, i.e. the 3rd time. And here you just drop the index. 1 further fret. You stay there for 2 bars, and then down again. Just like at the end of the chorus. From this point on, you go back, you play another verse, another chorus, you play the bridge again, and then you're out. There's a tiny little outro at the end, so you land on that last chord. It slows down a bit, and at a certain point, he adds his pinky on the 4th fret of the high E string as you slow down. And there we have it. How to practice the rhythm. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this is really hard. I mean, it's really hard to keep that super high tempo with very consistent 16th notes all throughout a 3-minute song. It's difficult. And it's very likely that it might take you quite a bit of time and practice to get right. But don't get discouraged. It seems simple, but it's really difficult. It's very fast and it has to be very consistent. So a quick tip on how to practice this. Start by playing the chords nice and slowly and make sure that your picking pattern is super clean. Play it as slow as it needs to be for that to be nice and clean. Memorize the chord changes. Make sure that every note is even. They're all the same. It is even better if you can practice with a metronome from the beginning. You are going to have to practice with a metronome anyway, because what you need to do next is to figure out what kind of tempo you can play this at comfortably. Say, this is 60, right? And I can play it fine there. Well, great. Once I know that I can play the whole sequence at this tempo, and I'm not making mistakes and I feel comfortable, then I take the tempo up by 5 BPM and then try it at 65. Same thing. It feels like nothing in terms of an increase in tempo, but it's actually enough because you need to be able to play it. And the only thing you're working on is on making the slightly higher tempo as accurate as the previous tempo was. So go up in 5s. The tempo of this song is 130, so that's super fast, as you heard in the demo. So it's going to take time, patience, and good practice. A consistent practice with the metronome building the tempo up. We need to build endurance, strength, and accuracy on the right hand in order to do this. That takes deliberate practice and some time, so persevere. It's a great song to play. Have fun. Give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time. Hasta la prossima, arrivederci, au revoir.